Hi everyone, Cameron Mitchell here from the Australian BMX Museum and the Australian BMX Hall of Fame. Welcome to this short series of videos entitled Inside the Mind of a Champion. Over the coming weeks, I'll be speaking with some of Australia's finest BMX racers, Hall of Fame inductees, no less. These inductees will handpick a single defining moment of their career. We'll discuss the lead up to these events, right up to the moment they put their wheel on the gate. So join me as we talk through and find out exactly what is going on inside the mind of some of Australia's greatest BMX racers. Hello and welcome to this very first instalment of Inside the Mind of a Champion. Today we venture all the way back to 1982, where the Australian BMX Championships were held in Waverley in Melbourne over Easter. Today we're speaking with none other than the very first Australian BMX Hall of Fame inductee, Jamie Hales. Welcome, Jamie.
Thanks, Cam. It's a lot of fun to be here and I'm looking forward to it.
So what we're hoping to get out of this series is to get inside the mind, in fact inside your mind, not only during the race that was the men's open class final, and for our younger viewers, the open class in 1982 was in fact the equivalent of today's elite men's class. So what we're interested in is getting inside your head, not just during the weekend and the final and the race, but prior to that. So going back to when you started preparing for that particular Open Championships. Of course, you were the defending Open Men's Champion. So we're interested in finding out when your preparation started for that event, both physically and mentally.
So I guess mentally it was on my mind, for the entire year, essentially. The 1981 race was a points race and it ended up being a runoff, which was a pretty unusual scenario. And I guess I saw the 1982 race as sort of being the first, fully fledged Australian Open run as a final. And as a something that I really needed to focus on for a very long time to try and pull it off, actually winning it. So before that there hadn't been any Australian title that was just a flat out single race. In 1980 it was a points series. It was actually done over multiple rounds, so it was even sort of less pressure from that standpoint. So look, my preparation really, I was fortunate enough to be invited by my sponsor to go to the US in November 1981 and stay there for a couple of months, and that was specifically for a race that Mongoose was sponsoring, so they wanted all their team riders from all over the world to turn up. And the good part for me was not only did I get to race that event, which was massive, but I also got to race some other big NBA races. There was a big race at Long Beach, and there was a race we travelled to in Carson City in Nevada. Also a whole bunch of sort of local level races, and also the World Championships in Indianapolis. So there was a whole lot of experience there, which happened across the height of our summer, which was winter in the US, which meant I gained a whole lot of race experience, with seemingly the best riders in the world. So that was really part of the preparation. When I came home, I felt pretty pumped. But knowing, what was ahead, I arrived home in January, late January, and knowing what was ahead, I sort of set about preparing for the 1982 race. Fortunately, the track was literally a 15-minute drive from my house. So as far as physical preparation, on top of doing all my sort of strength work at the gym, etc., I was at the track every single day, more or less, just, learning every pebble on that track. as far as the mental preparation went for that, I was really just focusing on, my main competition, how I was going to kind of approach that mentally, how I was going to try and mould my thoughts, on the days where we're riding heats and on the final, etc. So really I was sort of at the peak of my career, and for me, a lot of the confidence comes from simply getting the runs on the board when it comes to training. I mean, if you train and see the improvement in yourself, know that you're being the best version of yourself that you can be, you really have to approach it as to, like, I'm feeling great about myself. Physically, there's no reason mentally, why I should be feeling in any way not confident. My main preparation mentally was literally visualizing the race in my head. So just imagine, and a lot of it's, you could call it almost delusional, but essentially you're imagining the best possible version of the race, and you're doing that. Okay, what's the best possible version of the race if I'm in lane 8, or if I'm in lane 1, or if I'm 3, or whatever, and depending on which one's the favoured lane for that track. In my head, I'm just imagining me nailing the start, getting to the first jump first, and holding that first corner, and then basically defending for the rest of the race. Leading up to, if we talk about the final, leading up to the final, I would really become somewhat insular and just focus, listen to the gate, which everybody does when you're walking up the mount, and just doing the little, just having that automatic throw towards the gate. So, you're walking up the mount, you get your gate position, and, you have to, for me, I had to pre-think, okay, how am I going to approach it if I get lane 1? How am I going to approach it if I get lane 8? So mentally, I'd be going up there and just going, okay, this is the lane I've got. This is my best possible outcome. And again, just imagining the best possible version of this in my head and not corrupting it. And it's very easy. So if you've got let's say, a personality where you might tend to think on the negative things or whatever, you've got to have a reset button, essentially. Snap out of it, basically. You've got to be able to go, okay, I'm not going to think about that, I'm going to think about this, essentially. I'm going to think about doing the best I possibly can. I'm here, what the hell have I got to lose? I'm just going to go at this thing.
So, Jamie, you're talking about confidence, obviously, in your physical preparation, which helps your mental state for something like an Australian Titles. You're talking about visualising the race beforehand, and a lot of people that I speak to, particularly successful people, champions, all talk about visualising, and that seems to be a common trait. Other things I'm interested in hearing about is how you deal with nerves. So, that seems to be something that a lot of kids can't get under control, and that tends to be the difference between the good riders and the great riders, is the guys who can control the nerves. So just wondering what you did to control nerves. So let's talk about walking up to that gate. We're at that point now where perhaps you're being introduced by the commentator, the gate's about to drop. How do you really lock it in and focus in those final seconds and keep things under control?
Trying not to make eye contact with your competitors, and really anyone. For me, I would get like such in a zone, and just I was kind of blocking out everything. So I wouldn't necessarily be paying a lot of attention to the commentator who was introducing us. Yeah, obviously you want to acknowledge it, whatever, but it was all about sort of getting set up. I cannot overemphasize breathing. When I started riding big events, I was really nervous. But I kind of had this urge to beat everybody. So I get out there and want to really focus. So I guess the one main thing to think about nerves is you can pretty much assume everybody has them. Everybody's going to have, these nerves. This is not unique to you. That's a human thing to do. So look, apart from breathing, no eye contact, being in a zone, and then just the visualization. And look, you can think of the visualization as just setting up neural pathways. You're basically just kind of repeating something over and over and just knowing this is how I'm going to go. The other thing, and this might sound a bit corny, but the other thing I thought about, I think about, okay, the start I'm going to be throwing my weight, I'm going to time the gate, my front wheel's going to follow the gate out, 1 centimetre off it. And literally my thoughts were, between this gate and the first jump, I'm going to try and break my bike in half by pedaling so hard. So I'm going to try and rip the handlebar out and break my cranks. And that's what I would think about. I'm just going to tear this thing to pieces. Obviously it's a little bit different these days with the track layouts, etc. But typically you've got your starting gate's the first jump. So I would go up there at practice and just make sure I know exactly how many pedals, right? And where am I going to stop with my right foot forward or my left foot forward when I get to this jump? So, and I had a way, I think my right foot back was my preferred way to go over jumps. Or can I pedal over this thing? What am I doing? So you would always know, exactly how far you could pedal before you get over this jump, and I would literally just roll over and just let my cranks turn over. The other thing was, when I was training, I'd also visualize my competitors, and typically it was Macca, and then later on Lee, etc., as the others were coming through. I'd visualize them, and I'd be doing like leg extensions or something, and I'd just be thinking about how badly I want to beat these guys and just kick out another one, sort of thing. So it was to that level, and that's part of your mental thing. I'm going to kill him in the gym as well. I'm doing the work in the gym. I don't know if he's doing it, but I know I am.
So let's roll the video, if you want to bring that up for us. So I know it's a long time ago, but
yes.
All right, yes. We're on the gate, but talk us through it. Feel free to stop it at any point.
Okay, so
but happy to just commentate our way through.
Yeah, Drew Lane 1 wasn't happy with that, I can tell you. So I knew I had to get to that corner first, basically, and be the first one through the corner. So I was very, very focused on that. I'll just hit play. Okay, so I got really a good start, and I'm looking at the first jump. I've just frozen it on the first jump, and really, I am a tiny bit in front.
It's a very even field, isn't it? Everyone's hitting that.
I might be, 10 centimetres in front, something like that. But you can see where I'm at. I'm a little bit squashed down there. So obviously I'm coming over the apex of the jump there. And I don't know if you notice, but halfway through the first corner, I get shunted by Wayne in the back wheel. And I was very, very lucky.
No, I didn't notice that.
Not to, because it's such a gravelly track. You can see, how much I'm leaning over. And boom, he just clipped me right there. And I'm just putting my foot back on the pedal at this point. So...
Thank goodness you weren't clipped in, Jamie.
Yeah, that could have been a different outcome. So at this point, the track is a very quick sort of chicane left and right with a little bit of a drop. So this drop was something I focused on a lot, just trying to get a decent run down and get a bit of a line to the corner. You can see Mac has slipped his pedal there in the second corner, and I think I've got... Is that Glenn O'Brien, the Kuahara guy?
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm reasonably clear. So all I'm thinking is, hold the form, essentially, is what I'm thinking. Do not slip a pedal. do not, hit. You can see it's got the ridiculous tyres buried in the ground like they love to have in those days, which if you hit are like landing on an aircraft carrier. So at this point, I'm just trying to think. Be smooth, flow. It sounds corny. Like, just be one with the bike, be one with the track. Like, and just feel it. Feel everything that's coming through. It's a very loose track. Lean on the front wheel in the corners. And these are things that probably you don't have to focus on so much these days, because it's not loose in the corners. But so we come around. I'm trying to go around feet up everywhere, trying to get a good launch out of the corner. And look, obviously for guys that are racing these days, the distinct lack of any kind of obstacle in this track. I mean, just so that people know these days, I hated this track. Like, it was so boring. We would have killed, I don't know about you, Cameron, but I would have killed to have the tracks that they have these days.
Thanks, Jamie. That's absolutely fantastic, mate. Really good to hear your insights in this. So just to finish up, some last pointers for the young up-and-comers, particularly the guys who are having some success but finding it hard to get to that next level. So you've spoken about making sure that you've done the work physically, being happy that you've prepared for an event, visualising, how to deal with nerves. So any last pointers for the young riders today?
Yeah, look, I mean, you can get, I'm sure when I'm talking to young riders, I'm probably talking to their parents as well, and you can get super technical with it. But I think with the younger riders, you do not want to bamboozle them. And, in some cases, you might actually be introducing nerves rather than solving nerves, depending on what road you go down. You've got to be driven in a few different areas. So you've got to be process driven as to, okay, how can I do better starts? What can I do to do better starts? What can I, to build my confidence? I mean, get out there and do 50 starts a day. That's what I used to do in my front yard. And then think about the performance aspects of it. Go out, do your training, whatever it is, push to higher levels. But look, for the younger riders, I think the core, I've got a young boy at the moment, and I'd be keen for him to race. And the main things I'd want to communicate to him is that, you've got to have fun doing it. Like, if it's not fun, go do something else. You've got to be able to have fun with it and stay grounded, right? So you're going to do all this work and you're going to have some success, but just understand that, you're doing the reason you got into the sport in the first place is to have fun, and that should be like an overlying thing going, right through your career. If I'm not enjoying this, then why am I here?
And that's great advice for the parents, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. From the mental aspect with the kids, I think, a lot of that is going to come from the performance side of it, like the fact that they've actually built their skills and they've built their strength. If they're having trouble with certain, getting very nervous about certain competitors, etc., you really got to harp on you do the best that you can do. Like, if you do 100% effort, it does not matter what the outcome is, and we can sharpen that 100% all the time, and do not be afraid of failure. Awesome
advice there from Jamie Hales, the number one inductee into the Australian BMX Hall of Fame, of course Australia's first BMX superstar back in the early 1980s. Thanks so much, Jamie, for talking to us in this first episode of Inside the Mind of a Champion, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, Cam, and I really appreciate everything you're doing in promoting our sport. It's just absolutely amazing.
Thanks, Jamie. That concludes our very first episode on Inside the Mind of a Champion. If you like what you've seen today, please hit that like button below or hit the subscribe button to be notified of the next video when it becomes available. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if there's someone in particular you would like me to speak to, please let me know and I'll try and get in touch. We've got a couple more videos coming up in this series and I can't wait to talk to the next couple of superstars. So please join me next time we delve inside the mind of a champion. See you then.